There's been a lot of debate lately around whether having Hollywood actors in games is worth the cost. After my last video on Squadron 42, one of the biggest points of contention in the comments, other than the release date of course, was whether Cloud Imperium games wasted money on an A-list cast. At first I dismissed this notion as recent games have gone this route, and it seemed to be a slam dunk, but after further thought, it's a fair question. The gaming industry has been experimenting with celebrity actors for decades, sometimes to great effect, sometimes it is a shallow marketing gimmick. So let's take a serious look at it. Do Hollywood actors actually make games better? Or are they just expensive faces slapped on the box? The idea for this video came from the Captain's Crew in my comment section, and you might shape the next one. I'd love to hear from you. The idea of putting famous actors in games isn't new. In the 90s, we saw early full-motion video termed FMV in the industry, titles like Wing Commander 3 starring Mark Hamill and Command & Conquer with Joe Kukan. Games like Phantasmagoria and Night Trap leaned hard into their B-movie charm with mixed results. Back then, it was more about novelty. FMV was new, and seeing a recognizable face in a game was exciting, even if the performances were stiff and the production values low. These early attempts were often limited by the technology, but they paved the way for games to start thinking more cinematically. In many ways, they were experiments, some awkward, some ahead of their time, but they showed what was possible when storytelling and celebrity came together. One of the most memorable examples came from Sierra Online. Co-founder Roberta Williams, known for the King's Quest series, was convinced FMV was the future. Her passion project, Phantasmagoria, featured a $1 million live-action set and a full film crew. It was marketed as a horror movie you could play, and for a brief moment, it worked. The game sold well. But Sierra's heavy investment in FMV tech and cinematic production didn't hold up long-term. The novelty faded, and the gameplay couldn't keep up with the presentation. Some point to Williams' push for movie-like games as part of what led to Sierra's decline. It's a reminder that ambition is great, but it has to be grounded in good design. By the late 2000s and early 2010s, things changed. Games like Mass Effect, Red Dead Redemption, and LA Noire started putting a real focus on performance. Some used well-known actors, others relied on professional voice talent. But the line between games and films started to blur. Then came the big names: Liam Neeson in Fallout 3, Kiefer Sutherland in Metal Gear Solid 5, Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe in Beyond Two Souls, and of course Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk 2077. These weren't just voice cameos, they were full characters with arcs, motion capture, and emotional weight. It wasn't just about casting a big name to slap on the cover. These actors were often brought in early in development, working with directors to shape how their characters moved, spoke, and interacted. Games were starting to use the actors like films do, not just as voice talent, but as collaborators in the storytelling process. And players noticed. If you're enjoying this breakdown and want more like it, I've been doing deep dives into the sci-fi games that stick with me like Star Citizen, Cyberpunk 2077, Mass Effect, and more. If that sounds like your kind of thing, a like and a subscribe really helps. When done well, a known actor can elevate a game. Keanu's performance as Johnny Silverhand gave Cyberpunk an edge of attitude and vulnerability that might not have landed the same way with an unknown. Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen in Death Stranding were central to the game's weird, meditative tone. Their presence wasn't just fan service, it helped sell the strange world Kojima built. Even earlier, Liam Neeson brought unexpected gravitas to a brief but memorable role as the player's father in Fallout 3. Sean Bean's performance in Oblivion is still remembered for being restrained and grounded in a game filled with larger-than-life characters. These are performances that stuck with players, not just because of who played them, but because they were meaningfully written and integrated into the experience. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes the performance feels phoned in, sometimes the actor is clearly just reading lines in a booth, disconnected from the world they're meant to inhabit. Or worse, the character's designed purely as a marketing hook with no real impact on the story. Giancarlo Esposito in Far Cry 6 is a good example. He's an incredible actor, but the character he played felt more like a cutscene generator than a real threat. His talent wasn't the problem, the writing and integration were. Call of Duty has been guilty of this too. Kevin Spacey in Advanced Warfare and Kit Harington in Infinite Warfare gave the games a short-term marketing bump, but the characters didn't leave a lasting impression. In both cases, the actors weren't given enough to work with. You can bring a big name in, but if the world and script don't support them, the result feels hollow. There's also the question of cost. Big name actors mean big contracts, and if their role doesn't meaningfully affect the gameplay or story, you have to wonder if that money could have gone elsewhere. Into better writing, more content, or even polishing the core mechanics. A name alone can't carry a game. One of the biggest shifts in how actors are used in games came with the rise of full performance capture. No longer limited to voiceover work, actors could now perform scenes physically and emotionally. This changed the relationship between game developers and performers. Suddenly, games had access to tools that allowed for subtle facial expressions, real chemistry between characters, and immersive cutscenes. It's no coincidence that as this tech improved, more actors were willing to step in. It gave them the tools to actually act, not just read lines. Hellblade, The Last of Us, Detroit Become Human, these games showed how important performance is to emotional impact. In these cases, the actor's talent is essential to the story hitting the way it should. It's important to note that great performances don't require famous names. The Witcher 3 didn't rely on celebrity actors, but the performances were universally praised. Baldur's Gate 3 is probably the most well-known of the recent games to use this approach. In these cases, the developers focused on strong writing and casting the right voice for the character, not the most recognizable one. This reinforces the idea that it's not just about fame, it's about fit. A perfectly cast unknown can leave just as strong an impression as a Hollywood name, if not stronger in some cases. That said, casting a celebrity does offer something valuable: visibility. A big name gets attention. It earns headlines, it expands the reach beyond core gamers and into general pop culture. Keanu Reeves walking on stage at E3 for Cyberpunk didn't just sell that game, it became a viral moment. Studios know this. In some cases, the marketing impact might even outweigh the creative one. That's the trade-off. But if you can get both, attention and a good performance, you're in a strong position. So was the money spent on Squadron 42's cast a waste? That depends on one thing: whether the characters they play leave a mark. And from what we've seen so far, I'd say they're going to stick with us. Big names don't guarantee a great game, but when used right, they can help tell a story in a way that sticks. The real question isn't, should games use Hollywood actors? It's, are they using them well? And when the answer is yes, it shows. There's a line to walk between spectacle and substance. And if Squadron 42 can land both, it'll be one of the rare games that actually earns the star power behind it. Well, if it ever releases, that is. If you liked the video, you know what to do. Hit like and join me for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.